What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We start the video off with one of the funnier, better clips from the end of the video, but we wanted to put it at the front just to make sure it was seen, as most people aren't watching all the way through. But if you can watch all the way through, we try to cover as many of the different ways we get off axis. Hope you like it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I think we've addressed as many comments and questions about this topic as we possibly could. Enjoy. But remember, folks, this game is for entertainment, education, fun, and like John Wick, oh boy, that was a thing of beauty. I'll take that one though, but that was awesome. You know, as John Wick said about the craps high table, I have served, I will be of service. Pretty sure he said that. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to make a quick video. We're going to try to answer some comments that came up in some of the other videos. People had asked me to make some on-axis, off-axis type of tosses. We did that. They wanted to see more of the grip and, you know, show us how you're doing it and your release and all that. That was not in that video, so here we go. So again, this all goes back to all the information that was available 15, 20 years ago. I've actually only been doing dice control about 7 years, but I've known about it a lot longer than that. And I had actually read one of the books. It was the Sharpshooter book or it was the Get the Edge by Chris Paulicki. His name's alias was Sharpshooter. You know, but all the Scoletti books, all those things, it's all the same, right? They all just they preach this. You know, whether you have backswing, whether you don't, who knows. And then you're just trying to deliver the dice directly at the wall, right? And you want them to land flat on the table as possible with at a 45 degree, having hit the wall with the least amount of energy, come back down, and you're just trying to keep them on axis, hopefully landing on a hard way, very hard to do, especially for beginners, right? And so, you know, that's all that there was. YouTube wasn't around then like it is today. It was mostly all cat videos. You know, you don't have such a diverse amount of information and great content, right? So that's all we do. And so that's the first thing I learned how to do, or attempted to learn how to do, you know, throwing them directly at the wall so that they land flat and all that. And, you know, had there been some other type of ideas around, I probably would have saved myself a long time. Not that that's not a great throw and a great idea and all that. And so I can't even throw them. I can't even throw them like this, static like that. I have to be moving. That's just how I do it. Is it flawed? Probably. But you know what? There's more than one way to skin a cat. So, and you know, with a game that there's so many different ways to play it and bet it, right? It's not like blackjack where there's only two ways to play it. Perfect strategy or card counting. That's it. That's all you get. That's the only chance you've got to even come close to getting a 50-50 chance. With craps, shit, there's endless ways to bet it, and half of those bets pay great odds, right? So it stands to reason there should be more ways to go about the dice and throwing the dice and dice control and all that stuff. So just a quick answer. I never grip the dice any differently other than the differences from one grab to the next, right? And it's not always the same. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me at all, okay? My grip always looks like this. You know, they are together in my hand, right? But you see a lot of my throws, you know, they are splitting apart a little bit. I just don't agree that the dice need to be glued together perfectly, you know, and if it works for you, by all means, keep it up, do whatever. But just try all these different things, and that's how I discovered it. You know, I wish I had tried different stuff earlier on and wasting so much time trying to do something that was extremely difficult when there's just a much easier way to bet when you're staying off axis if you can repeat it. But you do have to repeat a good throw. You've got to repeat a good motion. There's no doubt about that. But so back to the basics, okay? It's always the two-finger front grip, thumb in the back, the dice. I actually, a lot of times I don't mind if the dice are split this way, because I don't know if you noticed, but my dice never bang into each other. I mean, almost ever. And as we all know, anybody who does that when their dice bang into each other, I mean, more times than not, it just seems to result in a 7. But that's a kill shot. That's a 5. That's a 5-6. But you know, in the end, I'm going for the kill shot, as I like to say endless times, and that's one that just does exactly that. It kills right at the table, right up underneath the bottom row of pyramids, because it came in with the perfect angle of descent, the right amount of spin, and when it hit, it killed him back into the table. So for me, that's how I like to do it. But if I'm trying to stay on axis, right, I'm trying to do the original traditional toss back straight forward. Okay, there you go, hard 6. All right, that looked pretty good. And that's it. And that's it. That's the textbook way. That is the textbook way to go about it. And so when I want to throw on axis, I basically go right back to all the old basic books, and it's doing just that thing right there. Okay? All right. Now, that is not my preferred way to do it. But because I spent so much time learning that particular method, I understand the concept, right? Whether you have whether you have a back swing or not. That is the overall theory. And let's go back to clarify something else. I don't think anybody thinks that the dice never go off axis. Okay, that's pretty naive. I think everybody understands that no matter how straight and flat they land on axis and all that, I think everybody probably or should understand that they do fall off axis, but they just have a on-axis result at a higher frequency when you land them like this, right? And it might be for various reasons. You can defer to the slow-mo camera all you like for that as to why. Doesn't matter to me. The slow-mo camera does absolutely nothing because I can't deposit what I see on the slow-mo camera. Okay, all I can do is deposit the money I won from the end result, and that's all I care about. But for me, the end result, to get an on-axis result, happens more often when I do exactly that. Okay, there's that. We've covered it. I prefer the off-axis result, not for a 1 or a 6, either way I don't care. I do it because I want one or the other. So I use the hardways set and I combine all the different angles that I've covered before in the 7 elements or the 7 dials of dice control. Look at my green line for center line, okay? That is where I'm gripping the dice more or less. It's actually probably a little bit farther this way. Okay, so we'll cover this again. The black, this right here is my target, okay? This is center line, this is my target. This is arbitrary. Okay, we're just using this here today, doesn't matter. I want to use a combination of angles, offsetting angles, right? Moving to the right of center line, facing to the left, okay? The dice are coming in like this. They are moving this direction, facing this direction with a lot of backspin typically. The dice are going to come in and they're going to land on their leading edge, the leading edge closest to the table. One will kick over this way, right? The other one will kick over this way and usually hit the right side of the pyramid. This one comes in and then spins out like a top. Both dice, they typically don't do them, they don't act together. They are acting independently of one another. We know this. And the reason listen, this is not the gospel. This is not the only way to do it, right? This is a game. You can do it in a multitude of ways. All right, so 1, 3, 4. What I'm doing, my theory here is the reason I like to do it that particular way is because by moving to one direction, getting back the other way, moving to the right, bouncing to the left, it's predictable. I know it. I know I'm going that way. I know they're going to kick to the left. And more times than not, for me, it results in more of a 1 or a 6. All right, so you see how that one killed right at the wall? That is a 6. 6-1, unfortunately. Comes with the territory. No big deal. This action right here was the perfect action of what I was trying to point out. I'm glad I could do it on the first try. But, you know, this game is so difficult, right? And the level of degrees of control that you have or don't have, too hard. The degree of control that you may or may not have is not only is it temporary, okay? It's very fine, right? But you don't need a lot. You know, you're already, a random shooter is only a 2% dog, right? Something about when I get to talking, I get all charged up and start throwing the dice harder. Let me see if I can't just focus here a little bit. 6-5, y'all. All right. And you know, I'm not a master, okay? I'm just another guy throwing dice in his living room. Yesterday I was in my garage. So, you know, we're not don't take ourselves too serious over here. 628. And you know, anybody who's trying to sell you or on one particular method or not, you know, again, it doesn't matter how much they know or how confident they are in their abilities. None of it really matters. I mean, that's pretty much a thing of beauty. 628. So I think you're starting to get my picture here of what I'm trying, get my point of what I'm trying to show you here by going this way. And clearly we've just seen, you know, a whole bunch of sixes. And that's how I like to do it. Now what is actually happening to the dice in slow motion, I'll leave that up to you guys to figure out. But essentially, I'm coming in a little bit sideways. Clearly I'm not doing this, and I'm crossing the line, right? So if the green line right here is the center line, okay, I'm coming in from the left, my hand is moving to the right, and I'm letting them go right before center line. So by the time I've let them go to the left of center. They cross the line, they land on the right, but they're facing, there's the line. They're facing this way, they're spinning, of course, right? They're spinning, of course. They're landing on their leading edge, right? So let's just look at one die. It's landing on its leading edge, something like this, and then as you notice, it does that a lot of the time. Every time, of course not. It's not about what you see in the camera. It's about the finished product. Okay, I can't deposit. God damn it. Why do I do that every time I start talking like that? It just cracks me up. I can't deposit what I see on a slow motion camera. All I can do is deposit the money. All right, now that one there was a pretty kill shot. Unfortunately, we didn't see a 6, but it's also about the energy killing, right? That's part of it, because I'm moving, and here's another concept. Because I'm moving this direction, right? And I'm coming from the left, right? The dice have traveled farther in the air. Not much, but some. And because I've actually extended the time in the air, right? They begin to slow down, right? They've had more time. Now, yes, I know that things pick up speed as they start to descend. It's just an idea. I'm not a scientist. Okay, it might not apply, but it may. Do your own research. 549. And again, you know what I mean? It's not something that's going to be a repeatable exact thing from, you know, one after day, time after time. That's why all of the tests, they're looking for some type of empirical evidence that doesn't exist, because it's not something that can be repeated the same way day after day. It's something that has to be done with feel and touch, and you can repeat the action. It might not be exact. It might not be the exact repeating action as the one before, but as long as it's close, right? You know, again, it's like hitting that downhill putt. You know, you're not trying to hole it necessarily. If you hole it, sure, that's great. But as long as you're keeping it close, it's the same thing. You know, you've only got 1 7, you know, or, you know, you only got 6 combinations. You know, the other 30 are good. All right, see, I think you're starting to get the picture here, right? And again, you know, by doing it with the different angles, but because the 6s are always on the right, okay, they're always on the right, it always bounces to the left. You know, when you see it get back to the 1, that's probably because it kicked and then kicked back over. But when thrown correctly and perfectly, you know, which, believe me, you'll get a lot closer than you think. You'll also throw them off the table a lot, especially if you don't have a full table. But remember, folks, this game is for entertainment, education, fun, and like John Wick, oh boy, that was a thing of beauty. I'll take that 1 though, but that was awesome. You know, as John Wick said about the craps high table, I have served, I will be of service. Pretty sure he said that. I mean, these landings don't get any better, I know that. And so this is how I do the off-axis toss, all right? Are they all going to be off-axis? Of course not. But, you know, all these they're for you to try and experiment with, right? If you're only trying this one thing all the time, or whatever method you're trying, if you're only doing that 6'5", yo, if you're only doing that one thing, right, not only does it get pretty boring, right, but you're stuck. You've got one tool, you know, you've got a hammer. Well, you know, not every object is a nail. You know, sometimes you need a corkscrew. You know, as one of my favorite saying is, you know, when luck closes the door, you know, go in through the window. I actually saw that from Doyle Brunson in that Poker After Dark show. I loved it. Always copied it. So anyway, this one's been pretty long, but that's the point, right? Okay, there it is. My grip never really changes. You know, and my dice, they don't need to stay glued together all that much. But what they do need to do is they do need to be hitting on the same edge when I'm doing it this way. They need to be hitting on the same edge, kicking back that same way, and the closer I get to the wall, the better, right? If you see them landing short, you'll see them land and then roll that way. But if they land right at the base... All right, guys, I've had enough. But I think I got my point across there as far as what I'm trying to accomplish. So it's really not in the grip, okay? It's just in the angles. All right. And even if you're not getting off axis, right, which you saw me get a whole bunch of 6s off axis, doing it ideally, right? They're not all going to be that great. We know that. But it is going to take a lot of the energy off because you're getting it spinning, coming in on that leading edge, right? It's the first edge hitting the table, and it just kills, right, in such a way that then coming back the other way, those angles you'll find offset each other quite a bit. And that actually adds as like a bit of it was terrible. I had far less grip. Hey, what I will say about the grip though, okay, the reason I have to put more of my finger pads on the dice is because I intentionally use a little more spin. Whenever I don't have many fingers, much meat on the dice, I don't have a lot of control, and they fly out way apart. So I don't mind if they don't have. God damn. All right, that's enough. And just remember, John Wick also said this. You tell them. You tell the casinos, you tell all of them, no matter what table they bring, no matter what table it is, I'll kill them. I'll kill shot them all. See you on the next one.